Lila and Sam find an old map in their grandmother's attic that leads to Starfall Island, a legendary place that only appears in stories. When the stars align one night, the island rises from the ocean, and the siblings set sail to find it. With the help of Whisper, the talking owl, they navigate the island's challenges, from solving puzzles in the Whispering Woods to facing Captain Finn, who guards the island's treasure. Along the way, they discover the true magic of the island: friendship, bravery, and the importance of believing in themselves. Chapter 1: The Map in the Attic. Lila had always loved rainy days. It wasn't just the soft patter of rain against the windows or the smell of wet earth that made her happy. It was the adventure that came with being stuck inside. On days like this, when the clouds hung low in the sky and the wind howled through the trees, Lila would climb up to the attic of her grandmother's old house and explore. The attic was a treasure trove of forgotten things. There were dusty trunks filled with old clothes, boxes of faded photographs, and shelves crammed with strange objects from far-off places. Lila's grandmother had traveled the world in her younger days, and the attic was like a museum of her adventures. "Sam, come on, let's see what we can find today," Lila called down to her brother. Sam appeared at the bottom of the ladder, his brown hair sticking up in every direction. "Are you sure there aren't any spiders up there?" "Don't be such a baby," Lila teased, reaching down to help him up. "There's nothing scary up here, just a bunch of cool stuff." Together, they began to sift through the piles of old things. Lila found an old hat with a feather in it and placed it on her head, pretending to be a pirate. Sam laughed, but his attention was soon drawn to something sticking out from under a heavy trunk in the corner. "What's that?" Sam asked, pointing. Lila knelt down and tugged at the object. It was an old, rolled-up piece of parchment, tied with a faded red ribbon. Carefully, she untied the ribbon and unrolled the parchment. "It's a map!" Lila exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. The map was yellowed with age, and the ink was faded in places, but the details were still clear. There was a drawing of an island in the middle of the ocean, with strange symbols and markings all over it. At the top of the map, in elegant script, were the words, "Starfall Island." "Starfall Island?" Sam repeated. "I've never heard of it. Do you think it's real?" Lila studied the map closely. "I don't know, but look at this." She pointed to a note scribbled in the corner of the map. The handwriting was messy, as if written in a hurry. "When the stars align, the island will rise. The treasure awaits the brave at heart." Sam's eyes grew wide. "Treasure? Do you think there's really treasure on the island?" Lila grinned. "Only one way to find out. We have to go there." "But how?" "We don't even know where this island is," Sam said, frowning. Lila tapped her chin thoughtfully. "Maybe Grandma knows. After all, she's been everywhere." Excited by their discovery, the siblings rushed downstairs to find their grandmother. She was sitting in her favorite armchair by the window, knitting a scarf as the rain poured outside. "Grandma, look what we found," Lila said, holding up the map. Their grandmother looked up from her knitting and adjusted her glasses. When she saw the map, her eyes widened and a smile tugged at the corners of her lips. "Ah, Starfall Island," she said softly. "I haven't seen that map in many years." "You know about it?" Sam asked eagerly. Their grandmother nodded. "I do. Starfall Island is a place of legend. It's said to only appear once every 100 years when the stars align perfectly in the sky. Many have tried to find it, but few ever do." Lila's heart raced. "But is it real, Grandma? Is there really treasure there?" Their grandmother chuckled. "The island is real, but the treasure, well, that depends on what you consider treasure. Some say it's gold and jewels. Others say it's something far more valuable." "More valuable than gold?" Sam whispered in awe. "Indeed," their grandmother said with a wink. "But remember, finding Starfall Island is not an easy task. The island is hidden by magic, and it only reveals itself to those who are brave enough to seek it." Lila and Sam exchanged a determined look. "We're brave enough," Lila said confidently. "We can find it." Their grandmother smiled warmly. "I believe you can, but you must be prepared for the journey ahead. Starfall Island is full of mysteries and challenges. You'll need more than just courage. You'll need to work together and trust each other. We will, Grandma, Sam promised. With their grandmother's blessing, Lila and Sam began to prepare for their adventure. They packed a bag with supplies, a flashlight, snacks, a notebook for recording their findings, and of course, the map. That night, they stayed up late, watching the stars from their bedroom window, hoping to catch a glimpse of the alignment that would reveal the island. And then, just as they were about to fall asleep, it happened. A shooting star streaked across the sky, followed by another and another, until the entire sky seemed to be filled with falling stars. The air hummed with energy, and the siblings felt a strange pull, as if something was calling to them. "Lila, look," Sam gasped, pointing out the window. Far off in the distance, where the ocean met the sky, a faint glow appeared on the horizon. It grew brighter and brighter until they could make out the shape of an island rising from the water, bathed in the soft light of the stars. "Starfall Island," Lila whispered in awe. The adventure had begun. Chapter 2. The Voyage to Starfall Island. The morning sun rose quickly, bathing the world in a warm, golden light. Lila and Sam hurried down to the small harbor near their grandmother's house. The old, wooden docks creaked under their feet as they made their way to the family sailboat, the Stargazer. Their grandmother had insisted they take it, even though she hadn't sailed in years. "It's a strong little boat," she said. "It'll get you where you need to go, as long as you follow the map and trust the stars." Lila checked their supplies one last time as Sam tried to figure out how to tie a knot he had seen in one of their grandmother's old sailing books. They both felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This wasn't like their usual summer adventures. This was something much bigger. "Ready?" Lila asked, looking over at her brother. Sam nodded, though his hands shook a little as he finished tying the knot. "Ready." They pushed off from the dock, and with a few adjustments to the sails, the Stargazer began to glide smoothly through the water. The wind was steady, and the sky was clear, but the mysterious glow in the distance made them feel like they were sailing into a different world. As they left the harbor behind, the mainland grew smaller and smaller until it was just a faint line on the horizon. The only thing ahead of them now was the endless ocean and the promise of Starfall Island. For hours, they sailed in silence, both lost in their thoughts. The map was spread out between them, and every so often, Lila would glance at it to make sure they were on the right course. The island's location seemed to shift as they sailed, but the stars in the sky remained constant, guiding them forward. "Do you think anyone else has ever found the island?" Sam asked after a long silence. Lila shrugged. "Maybe, but Grandma said it's hidden by magic, so probably not many people have. I think it's special that we're even getting this chance." Sam looked up at the sky, watching as the stars began to appear again as dusk fell. "I wonder what kind of treasure we'll find." Lila smiled at her brother's excitement. "Whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be amazing. But remember what Grandma said, it might not be gold or jewels. It could be something even better." As night fell, the air around them grew still, and the sea seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. It wasn't just the reflection of the stars. They could see shimmering shapes moving beneath the water, almost as if the ocean itself was alive with magic. "Look," Sam whispered, pointing over the side of the boat. Lila leaned over the edge and gasped. Tiny glowing creatures swam just below the surface, leaving trails of light in their wake. They looked like fish, but their bodies were made entirely of stardust. "Starfish, real starfish," Lila whispered in awe. The magical creatures danced around the boat for a while before disappearing back into the depths. The sight filled the siblings with a renewed sense of wonder and excitement. But as they sailed deeper into the night, the sky grew darker, and a thick fog began to roll in. The stars above were soon hidden, and the glowing sea creatures vanished. Lila gripped the wheel tightly, her eyes straining to see through the mist. "I can't see anything," she said, her voice tinged with worry. "Sam, check the map again. Are we still going in the right direction?" Sam quickly unfolded the map and held it up to the faint light of their lantern. But something was different. The island, which had been clearly marked in the center of the map, now seemed to be surrounded by strange symbols and markings that hadn't been there before. Lila, the map. It's changing, Sam said, his voice trembling. What do you mean changing? Lila asked, glancing over her shoulder. Before Sam could answer, a soft, whispering voice floated through the air, carried by the wind. Turn back, turn back. Lila froze, her heart pounding in her chest. Did you hear that? Sam nodded, his eyes wide with fear. It's the wind, or maybe the fog. But the voice came again, clearer this time. Turn back, or be lost. Lila swallowed hard and forced herself to stay calm. It's just trying to scare us. We can't turn back now. We're so close. Just as she said this, the fog parted slightly, revealing a shadowy figure perched on the mast of their boat. It was an owl, but unlike any owl they had ever seen before. Its feathers were a deep, shimmering blue, and its eyes glowed with the light of 1,000 stars. The owl tilted its head and spoke in a soft, musical voice. So, you seek Starfall Island, do you? Lila and Sam stared at the owl in shock. It wasn't every day that they met a talking bird. Who are you? Lila asked cautiously. The owl ruffled its feathers and let out a soft hoot. I am Whisperer, guardian of Starfall Island. I watch over the island and those who seek it. Many have tried to find it, but few are worthy. The island reveals itself only to those who are brave and true of heart. We are brave, Sam said quickly. And true. We want to find the island and see the treasure. Whisper studied the siblings for a long moment before nodding slowly. Perhaps you are, but the island is full of challenges. You will need more than just bravery to succeed. You will need wisdom, kindness, and trust in one another. Lila nodded. We understand. We're ready for whatever challenges the island throws at us. Whisper's eyes glimmered with approval. Very well. Follow me, and I will guide you through the fog. But remember, the island tests all who seek it. Stay true to yourselves, and you may just find what you're looking for. With that, Whisper spread his wings and took off into the night sky, his feathers glowing like the stars. Lila and Sam quickly adjusted the sails, following the owl as he led them through the thick fog. For what felt like hours, they sailed in near silence, the only sound being the gentle lapping of the waves against the hull of the boat. But finally, the fog began to lift, and a dark shape appeared on the horizon. Starfall Island. It rose out of the water like a jagged mountain, its shores lined with strange, glowing plants and towering trees. The air was filled with the soft hum of magic, and the stars above seemed to shine brighter than ever. We made it, Sam whispered in awe. Lila nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. We really made it. Whisper landed gracefully on the bow of the boat and turned to face them. Welcome to Starfall Island. Your journey has just begun. As the stargazer gently bumped against the shore, Lila and Sam knew that they were stepping into a world unlike any they had ever known. The island was waiting for them, filled with secrets and challenges that only the brave could face. But Lila and Sam were ready. Together, they would uncover the secret of Starfall Island and discover the true meaning of treasure. Chapter 3. The Whispering Woods. Lila and Sam stepped onto the soft, glowing sands of Starfall Island, feeling the magical energy hum beneath their feet. The air was warm and sweet, filled with the scent of strange, luminous flowers that dotted the shoreline. Whisper perched on a nearby rock, his starry eyes watching them intently. Where do we start? Sam asked, gazing around in awe at the towering trees that loomed in the distance. They seemed to sway gently, even though there was no wind. Whisper fluttered his wings and pointed toward the heart of the island. Your first challenge lies in the Whispering Woods. It's a forest of secrets and illusions. Many who enter lose their way, drawn off course by the whispers of the trees. If you wish to find the treasure, you must trust your instincts and not let the voices lead you astray. Lila glanced at the map, which now showed a winding path through a dense forest marked with strange symbols. We'll stay on the path, she said confidently, and we'll stick together. Whisper nodded approvingly. Good. Remember, the island tests your heart as much as your mind. Stay true to yourselves, and you will find your way. With that, Whisper took off into the sky, disappearing among the stars once more. Lila and Sam exchanged a determined look, then set off toward the forest. The path was narrow and overgrown, with thick vines and roots winding their way across the ground. The trees loomed above them, their branches twisted and gnarled, blocking out most of the light. As they entered the whispering woods, the air grew cooler, and the soft hum of magic became a faint, eerie whisper. The trees seemed to lean in closer, their bark etched with strange patterns that looked almost like faces. "Lila, do you hear that?" Sam whispered, his voice barely above a breath. Lila nodded. The whispers were faint at first, like the rustling of leaves in the wind, but soon they grew louder. Words drifted through the air, soft and teasing, as if the forest itself was speaking to them. "Turn back. Go home. You don't belong here. Come this way. The treasure is near." Lila shook her head, trying to block out the voices. "Don't listen to them, Sam. They're just trying to confuse us." But the whispers grew louder, more insistent. "You'll never find it. You're not worthy." Sam glanced nervously at the trees, his grip tightening on the small compass he had brought. "What if they're right? What if we're just wasting our time?" Lila stopped and turned to face her brother, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Don't let them get to you, Sam. We've come this far, and we're not giving up now. We're in this together, remember?" Sam took a deep breath and nodded. Together, they continued along the path, determined to ignore the whispers. But as they ventured deeper into the forest, the voices became more insistent, and the path ahead grew harder to follow. The trees seemed to shift and move, blocking their way and forcing them to turn in circles. Lila tried to keep her focus, but the constant whispers made it difficult to think clearly. She could feel doubt creeping into her mind, and for a moment, she wasn't sure if they were still heading in the right direction. "Maybe we should turn back," Sam suggested, glancing over his shoulder. "We could try to find another way." Lila hesitated. The forest was disorienting, and she couldn't tell how far they had come or how much farther they had to go. But something deep inside her told her that turning back wasn't the answer. "No," she said firmly. "We have to keep going. The island is testing us. We can't let it win." Just as she said this, a soft glow appeared in the distance, cutting through the darkness of the forest. It was faint, but it gave them a direction to follow. "Look!" Sam pointed excitedly. "Maybe that's the way out." Lila felt a surge of hope. "Come on, let's check it out." They hurried toward the light, careful to avoid the twisting roots and branches that seemed to reach out for them. As they drew closer, the whispers faded, replaced by a soft, soothing melody that seemed to call to them. Finally, they emerged from the dense trees and found themselves in a small clearing bathed in the glow of hundreds of tiny, glowing creatures. They looked like fireflies, but their light was brighter, more magical. They danced through the air, creating swirling patterns of light that filled the clearing with a warm, peaceful energy. In the center of the clearing stood a tall, ancient tree with silver bark and leaves that shimmered like stardust. At the base of the tree, nestled among the roots, was a small, stone pedestal. On top of the pedestal sat a delicate, glowing crystal in the shape of a star. Lila and Sam approached the tree cautiously, their eyes wide with wonder. The whispers were gone now, replaced by the gentle hum of magic that seemed to emanate from the tree itself. "This must be the heart of the forest," Lila said softly. "The tree, it's protecting this place." Sam reached out to touch one of the glowing fireflies, and it landed on his finger, its light pulsing gently. "It's beautiful." Lila nodded, her gaze fixed on the crystal. "Do you think it's part of the treasure?" "Maybe," Sam said, "but it feels different, like it's more than just a crystal." As they stood there, the tree seemed to come alive, its leaves rustling in the soft breeze. A deep, wise voice echoed through the clearing, coming from the tree itself. "You have done well to resist the whispers," the tree said. "Many lose their way in the forest, but you stayed true to your path." Lila and Sam exchanged a surprised look. They hadn't expected the tree to speak. Who are you?" Lila asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I am the guardian of the Whispering Woods," the tree replied. "I protect the secrets of this forest and guide those who are worthy. You have proven yourselves brave and true of heart. The crystal before you is a key to unlocking the true treasure of Starfall Island." "A key," Sam repeated, glancing at the crystal. "But how does it work?" The tree's voice grew softer, almost like a whisper carried on the wind. "The island is filled with many challenges. Each key you find will bring you closer to the treasure. But remember, the true treasure is not what you expect. It is something far greater than gold or jewels." Lila reached out and carefully picked up the crystal, feeling its warmth in her hands. It pulsed gently, as if it were alive. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. The tree's leaves rustled again, and the glowing fireflies danced around them in a joyful display. "Go now, children of the stars. Your journey is far from over, but you are on the right path. Trust in yourselves, and you will find what you seek." With the crystal safely tucked away in her bag, Lila led Sam back toward the path. The forest seemed less ominous now, and the whispers had completely faded. They walked in silence for a while, both lost in their thoughts. "We did it," Sam said after a while, a smile spreading across his face. "We made it through the whispering woods." Lila smiled back at him. "Yeah, we did, and we got the first key, but there's still more to come." As they emerged from the forest, they saw a Whisper waiting for them on a nearby branch. His starry eyes twinkled with approval. "You have done well," Whisper said, "but the island's challenges are far from over. The Crystal Cavern awaits you next. There, you will face your greatest test yet." Lila and Sam nodded, ready for whatever lay ahead. They had made it through the whispering woods, and they were one step closer to uncovering the secret of Starfall Island. But deep down, they knew that the true test was still to come. Chapter 4: The Crystal Cavern. The path from the whispering woods led Lila and Sam deeper into Starfall Island. As they ventured further inland, the terrain began to change. The lush, glowing forest gave way to rocky hills and jagged cliffs, their dark stones glittering faintly with magical energy. Whisper guided them from above, his wings slicing through the air as he led them toward their next challenge. The sky overhead had grown darker, filled with swirling clouds that seemed to pulse with light, as if the very air was charged with magic. After what felt like hours of walking, they reached the entrance of a large cave set into the side of a mountain. The mouth of the cave was lined with sharp crystals that jutted out from the rock, each one glowing softly in the dim light. "This is it," Whisper said, landing on a nearby boulder. "The Crystal Cavern. Inside, you will face a trial unlike any you've encountered before. The crystals within this cavern hold great power, but they can also deceive. Trust your instincts and remember what you've learned so far." Lila and Sam exchanged a nervous glance. The Whispering Woods had tested their resolve, but this cavern felt different, more dangerous. "Are you ready?" Lila asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Sam nodded, though his grip on the crystal they had found in the forest tightened. "Yeah, let's do this." With Whisper watching from the entrance, they stepped into the cavern, their footsteps echoing off the stone walls. The air inside was cool and filled with the sound of dripping water. Crystals of all shapes and sizes lined the walls, their soft glow casting eerie shadows across the floor. As they ventured deeper into the cavern, the light from the entrance faded, leaving only the glow of the crystals to guide them. The deeper they went, the brighter the crystals became, until the entire cavern was bathed in a shimmering, iridescent light. Lila paused, looking around in awe. "It's beautiful, but we need to stay focused." Whisper said this place can deceive us. Sam nodded, his eyes scanning the walls. "But how?" Everything seems so calm. Just as he said that, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. The crystals on the walls flickered, and the soft hum of magic grew louder, turning into a low, rhythmic pulse that seemed to resonate through the entire cavern. "Did you feel that?" Sam asked, gripping his sister's arm. Lila nodded, her heart racing. "Yeah, stay close." Suddenly, the crystals around them began to glow even brighter, their light intensifying until it was almost blinding. The walls of the cavern seemed to ripple, as if they were made of water, and strange, shadowy figures appeared within the crystal reflections. "Look!" Sam pointed at one of the walls. "What are those?" Lila squinted at the shimmering figures. They looked like people, but their faces were obscured, and their movements were slow and deliberate, like they were trapped within the crystals. "Are they trapped?" Lila wondered aloud. The figures seemed to reach out toward them, their hands pressing against the crystal walls as if they were trying to escape. The sight sent a shiver down Lila's spine. "We need to keep moving," she said, pulling Sam forward. "We can't get distracted." But as they continued deeper into the cavern, the shadowy figures became more prominent, their whispers filling the air around them. The cavern seemed to grow larger, the walls stretching out into the distance, and the path ahead twisted and turned in impossible ways. Lila tried to focus on the way forward, but every step felt like they were walking in circles. The crystals on the walls reflected their images back at them, but the reflections were distorted, their faces twisted into strange, unfamiliar shapes. "Something's wrong," Sam said, his voice trembling. "I feel like we're going in circles." Lila felt the same, but she didn't want to admit it. The cavern was playing tricks on them, trying to confuse them. She closed her eyes for a moment, trying to block out the swirling reflections and the whispers that filled the air. "We need to focus," she said, more to herself than to Sam. "We have to stay on the right path." But when she opened her eyes again, the path ahead had completely changed. Instead of a single tunnel, there were now 3, each one lined with crystals that glowed in different colors: blue, red, and green. "Which way do we go?" Sam asked, his eyes darting between the tunnels. Lila studied the tunnels carefully, but there were no obvious signs to guide them. Each tunnel seemed to pulse with its own energy, and the whispers from the crystals grew louder, urging them to choose. "Trust your instincts," Whisper's words echoed in her mind. Lila took a deep breath, closing her eyes once more. She focused on the crystal in her bag, the key they had found in the Whispering Woods. It had guided them before, and she hoped it would guide them again. When she opened her eyes, she felt a gentle pull toward the tunnel on the left, the one lined with blue crystals. "This way," she said, taking Sam's hand and leading him toward the blue tunnel. As they entered the tunnel, the light around them softened, and the whispers faded. The crystals on the walls pulsed gently, their light guiding them forward. Lila felt a sense of calm wash over her, and she knew they had made the right choice. The tunnel twisted and turned, but eventually, it opened up into a large chamber filled with the most breathtaking crystals they had ever seen. The walls and ceiling were covered in massive, glowing crystals that radiated warmth and light. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal, and on it rested another crystal, this one larger than the first and shaped like a starburst. "This must be it," Sam whispered, approaching the pedestal cautiously. Lila nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. They had made it through the cavern's tricks and found the second key. But just as Sam reached out to take the crystal, the chamber trembled, and a deep, rumbling voice filled the air. "Who dares to disturb the heart of the cavern?" Lila and Sam froze as a massive figure emerged from the shadows. It was a giant made entirely of crystal, its body shimmering with the colors of the cavern. Its eyes glowed with an intense light, and its voice echoed through the chamber like the sound of grinding stones. "We were just trying to find the treasure," Lila stammered, stepping in front of Sam protectively. The crystal giant loomed over them, its glowing eyes studying them intently. "The treasure of Starfall Island is not for the greedy or the unworthy. Only those who understand the true nature of the island may claim it." "We're not greedy," Sam said quickly. "We're just trying to find out what the treasure really is." The giant tilted its head, its glowing eyes narrowing. "Many have said the same, but few have proven themselves. If you wish to claim the heart of the cavern, you must answer a riddle. Only then will you be allowed to proceed." Lila swallowed hard, her mind racing. A riddle? She had always liked riddles, but this felt different. The stakes were higher here. "Okay," she said, her voice steady. "What's the riddle?" The giant's voice rumbled through the chamber as it spoke. "I am not alive, but I can grow. I do not have lungs, but I need air. I am not thirsty, but I need water. What am I? Lila furrowed her brow, thinking carefully. The riddle seemed to describe something that wasn't alive, but acted like it was. Something that grew, needed air, and needed water. Sam's eyes lit up with realization. A fire. The answer is fire. The crystal giant was silent for a moment, then nodded slowly. You are correct. Fire is the answer. The ground beneath them rumbled once more, but this time, it felt different. More like a gentle pulse of energy than a threat. The giant stepped aside, and the light in its eyes softened. You have proven yourselves worthy, the giant said. Take the heart of the cavern and continue your journey. But remember, the true treasure of Starfall Island is not what it seems. The final challenge awaits. Lila carefully picked up the starburst crystal, feeling its warmth in her hands. It pulsed with a gentle light, just like the first crystal, and she knew it was another key to unlocking the island's secrets. Thank you, she said, her voice filled with gratitude. The giant nodded once, then slowly sank back into the shadows, becoming one with the cavern once more. With the second crystal safely tucked away, Lila and Sam made their way back through the tunnel, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. They had passed another test, but they knew that the hardest part of their journey was still ahead. As they emerged from the cavern and stepped back into the cool night air, Whisper was waiting for them once again. You have done well, Whisper said, his voice filled with pride. But the final challenge awaits you at the heart of the island. There, you will face the true test of your bravery and your bond. Lila and Sam exchanged a determined look. They had come this far, and they weren't about to give up now. Lead the way, Lila said, her voice filled with resolve. Whisper nodded and took to the sky, leading them toward the heart of Starfall Island, where the final challenge and the true treasure awaited. Chapter 5. The Heart of the Island. Lila and Sam followed Whisper through the thickening trees, the forest slowly giving way to open plains. The stars above seemed closer now, twinkling brightly in the clear night sky. The island felt alive with energy, a hum of anticipation filling the air as they approached the heart of Starfall Island. Whisper guided them to the edge of a vast clearing. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient stone structure, an enormous circular platform etched with strange symbols and surrounded by towering pillars that glowed with soft, pale light. At the center of the platform was a pedestal, much like the ones they had seen before, but this one radiated an intense magical energy that sent shivers down their spines. This is it, Whisper said, landing gracefully on one of the nearby pillars. The heart of the island. The final challenge awaits you here. But be warned, this test will be unlike anything you have faced before. It will require not just your strength and bravery, but your bond as siblings as well. Lila and Sam approached the platform cautiously. The air felt charged with magic, and the symbols on the stone glowed faintly, pulsing with energy. What do we do? Sam asked, his voice trembling slightly. Lila glanced at the pedestal in the center, then at the two crystals they had collected. The first crystal from the Whispering Woods and the second from the Crystal Cavern pulsed gently in her bag, as if they were reacting to the magic of the platform. I think we have to place the crystals on the pedestal, Lila said, her voice steady despite the nervous flutter in her chest. That's what the island has been leading us to. Sam nodded, pulling the crystals from the bag. Together, they approached the pedestal and carefully placed the two glowing crystals on top. As soon as the crystals touched the stone, the entire platform lit up with a brilliant light, and the symbols etched into the stone began to glow brighter, casting long shadows across the clearing. For a moment, everything was still. Then, without warning, the ground beneath them rumbled, and a deep, resonant voice filled the air, echoing through the clearing. Children of the stars, you have come far. You have faced the trials of the island and proven your courage, your wisdom, and your bond. But now, you must face the final test, the test of your hearts. The voice seemed to come from all around them, as if the island itself was speaking. Lila and Sam exchanged a nervous glance but stood their ground, ready for whatever was to come. Suddenly, the air around them shimmered, and two figures appeared on the platform, each one made of glowing light. They were familiar, too familiar. Lila gasped as she realized that the figures looked exactly like her and Sam. Only they were made of pure, radiant energy. The glowing versions of themselves stood tall and confident, their eyes filled with determination. Who are they? Sam stammered, staring at the glowing versions of themselves. They are you, the voice of the island replied. But they are also your greatest challenge. To claim the true treasure of Starfall Island, you must face yourselves, your fears, your doubts, and your weaknesses. Only by confronting the truth within your hearts can you unlock the final secret of the island. Lila took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. She had faced many challenges on this island, but this one felt different. How could they fight themselves? What do we do? Sam whispered, his voice filled with uncertainty. Lila looked at their glowing counterparts, then back at her brother. We have to face them, just like the island said. We have to confront our fears. As if on cue, the glowing versions of Lila and Sam moved forward, their eyes locked on the real Lila and Sam. They moved with purpose, their steps confident and unyielding. Lila braced herself, stepping in front of Sam protectively. But instead of attacking, the glowing version of Lila stopped in front of her, staring her down with a piercing gaze. You're not strong enough, the glowing Lila said, her voice calm but firm. You've always doubted yourself. You've always been afraid that you're not good enough to protect those you love. How can you lead when you're so full of fear? Lila's heart skipped a beat. The words cut deep, hitting on the very insecurities she had tried to hide throughout their journey. She had always felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, always worried that she wouldn't be able to protect Sam, that she wasn't strong enough to lead them through this adventure. But as the glowing version of herself stood there, confronting her with her deepest fears, Lila realized something important. The island wasn't trying to break her down, it was trying to help her understand. She wasn't perfect. She wasn't always confident or fearless. But that didn't mean she wasn't strong. Her strength came from facing those fears, from standing up even when she was scared, and from doing everything she could to protect her brother. I'm not perfect, Lila said, her voice steady. I have fears just like everyone else, but I won't let them control me. I won't let them stop me from doing what's right. The glowing version of Lila smiled, a soft, approving smile, before slowly dissolving into a burst of light. The light swirled around Lila, filling her with a warm, comforting energy. Meanwhile, the glowing version of Sam stood in front of the real Sam, staring him down with a critical gaze. You've always felt like a burden, the glowing Sam said, his voice filled with certainty. You've always believed that you're not as strong or as capable as your sister. You've let that doubt hold you back, making you think that you're not good enough to face challenges on your own. Sam's breath caught in his throat. The words echoed the thoughts that had plagued him for so long. He had always looked up to Lila, always admired her bravery and leadership. But deep down, he had always felt like he wasn't enough, like he was just tagging along, relying on her to get them through everything. But as the glowing version of himself spoke those words, Sam felt something shift inside him. He wasn't just a follower. He had faced challenges too. He had found his own courage on this island, and he had grown stronger because of it. I'm not a burden, Sam said, his voice firm. I've faced my own challenges, and I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I'm not just following my sister. I'm standing beside her, just as strong as she is. The glowing version of Sam smiled as well, before dissolving into light just like the glowing Lila had. The light swirled around Sam, filling him with a sense of calm and confidence. As the light faded, the entire platform glowed brightly, and the air around them seemed to hum with energy. The voice of the island spoke once more, softer this time, almost like a whisper carried on the wind. You have faced your greatest fears and embraced the truth within your hearts. You have proven yourselves worthy of the true treasure of Starfall Island. The pedestal at the center of the platform glowed brightly, and slowly, a small object began to rise from its surface. It was a star-shaped locket, made of shimmering silver and engraved with intricate patterns. The locket pulsed with a gentle, warm light, as if it held the very essence of the island's magic within it. Lila and Sam approached the locket cautiously, their hearts pounding with anticipation. "This is it," Lila whispered. "The true treasure of Starfall Island." Sam reached out and carefully picked up the locket. As soon as his fingers touched it, a wave of warmth washed over them both, filling them with a sense of peace and fulfillment. The voice of the island spoke one final time. "The treasure is not gold or jewels, but something far greater. It is the bond you share, the strength within your hearts, and the courage to face your fears. This locket holds the magic of Starfall Island, a gift to remind you of the journey you've taken and the lessons you've learned." Lila smiled, her heart swelling with pride. The treasure wasn't just an object. It was the journey they had taken together, the challenges they had faced, and the bond they had strengthened. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. The platform's glow slowly faded, and the clearing returned to its quiet, peaceful state. Whisper landed beside them, his starry eyes twinkling with approval. "You have done well," Whisper said softly. "The island has recognized your strength, your bravery, and your bond. You have earned the true treasure, and with it, you carry the magic of Starfall Island wherever you go." Lila and Sam looked at each other, their smiles reflecting the deep connection they now shared. They had come to the island seeking treasure, but what they had found was so much more. They had discovered their own strength, faced their fears, and come out stronger for it. As they left the heart of the island and made their way back to the shore, the stars above seemed to shine even brighter, as if the island itself was watching over them, proud of the journey they had taken. With the locket safely tucked away, Lila and Sam boarded their boat, ready to return home. But as they sailed away from Starfall Island, they knew that the magic of the island would stay with them forever, a reminder of the courage they had found within themselves and the bond they had strengthened along the way. And so, their adventure on Starfall Island came to an end, but the lessons they learned and the bond they forged would last a lifetime.